Ah, is this me? I can't tell.
Hi.
Hey.
Nope.
Yeah.
What is this?
This one.
I don't know what video he is either.
What?
Yeah.
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening right now. Where
Yeah,
am I?
can't
Who are
see
you?
the- I
Who
can't
are
see
you
the fucking-
people?
I can't see the title because I'm not watching it. I'm in it. I'm
Yeah.
in it.
In it to win it.
What the fuck was that?
Minute to Win It, hosted by Guy Fieri.
God damn it.
Yeah, we've been doing a bunch of lists and stuff. We're doing one that's more of a consensus.
Got you, homie. I got you.
We're putting all the Star Wars movies as of now in order. So this is episodes 1 to 7.
Because Rogue One is not out yet.
We sat down, we banged them out.
What about
This is the legitimate list.
First off, a spoiler alert. Number 1 is the Star Wars Christmas special. I mean,
Oh, don't even joke like that, Keith.
I'm joking.
But Keith, Chewbacca's
Oh, I didn't
family.
know. I thought you were serious.
Spoiler, nah.
Damn, you got me. Fucking pranked hard.
Prank, bro. It's just a
Just a
prank.
prank, bro.
I won't sue.
I'm just joshing.
I still might sue you. Because that's apparently what people do nowadays.
Alright.
I'm not sure if our list is very out of the ordinary. Especially towards the bottom, you can kind of put them in any order, and
Yeah.
definitely towards the top 3, you can put in any order too that we have. So yeah,
Most fans would probably agree
to an extent. With
to an extent with this list, though.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
believe.
Let's dive into it. The 7th worst Star Wars movie.
Actually, at this point, it's
The
just
worst.
the worst Star Wars movie.
The worst Star Wars.
And I would hazard a guess that it'd be very, very hard for Star Wars to top this, in my opinion.
Yes, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Star Wars movie. One of the worst movies of all time, actually.
Yeah. Maybe if you talked to me, before Episode 7 came out, and maybe even like 5 years ago, probably a little more than 5 years ago, probably like 10 years ago, I would have maybe disagreed with this being the worst one, because at the time I thought it was better than Phantom Menace. But kind of going back and looking at it and really looking at it with like an older perspective, more mature perspective, it's like, this is just a bad movie. The dialogue is awful. It's so emo.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I used to like this movie.
This used to be one of my favorites of the prequels, actually.
I saying that I used to really like this movie, and then again, kind of the same boat as you. Is I kind of go back and just like nothing happens for like 90% of the movie, and then until
Geonosis.
Geonosis, and even then, that's like a 6 in terms of like coolness, 6
Yeah.
out of 10, and it's just like so it's. And, like, the whole fight at the end is not worth it. Like, the whole against Count Dooku, in my opinion, even the part with Yoda, it's all stupid. even that part, it's all stupid. Like, I'm just like, ugh. Like, even though they did Yoda right, in which maybe, but no. Don't give Yoda a lightsaber. Keep it.
But I will tell you, my
person.
12-year-old self, dude, and everyone in that theater cheered when Yoda came out to whip Dooku's ass.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, at that time, yeah, I agreed, but now I'm just like, keep him to just be the cool, like, old, like, sage-like character instead of, like, oh, and all of a sudden he needs a cane to walk around, and all of a sudden he's fucking doing, like, triple
Force.
backflips and fucking jumping around.
He's channeling the Force.
No. Just no.
I was thinking of the wrong movie. I was going to say something there. I was thinking of the wrong fucking movie. I was thinking, in my mind, the second one is always the second one. Like it's not episode 2, it's episode 5.
Oh, yeah.
I always get it mixed up and think, oh yeah, the second one. And I'm like, oh wait, that's the one. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of like Count Dooku, but I thought he was underutilized as a character. He was sort of just there as like,
Yeah, I agree.
hey, this is the bad guy. Insert bad guy. But I thought he was cool. he could have been a little cooler. The rest of the movie was boring. It was a lot of Senate.
There was that
orders
little like
and whatnot.
that toss back to the original trilogy with the image of the Death Star, I think. But even
then,
still, they didn't really go anywhere with that. I was like, oh, cool, this is like the beginning of the Death Star plans. They could go somewhere with this, and then it's never mentioned for the rest of the prequels.
Jar Jar Binks came out, slapped some ass. Got a little bit of grab ass.
He's the
with
reason
Jar Jar.
for everything. He's the reason. He's a Sith Lord.
I have a story about Jar Jar, but I'll tell you after the video.
Okay.
To me, this is by far the most boring fucking movie. Even with action, it's awful.
Yeah,
Like, the action's just boring to watch. And that's kind of the theme of the prequels, is there's some cool characters, but they're so underutilized. And this was by far the worst performance from, what's his name, Hayden Christensen. Like, I don't need to see angry teenager Anakin Skywalker. Like, and it was just so poorly
Not just
done.
angry teenager, emo teenager.
Yeah, and the relationship
Romance.
between him and Padme was so poorly done.
Some nice romance.
The part that fucking gets me that I just could not get over, and it still pissed me off, is what they did with Boba Fett in this movie.
Jango Fett.
Well, even then, like what they did was just like not good.
That he's a fucking clone. Like, fuck that. That's just awful to me.
Granted, he's an
know-
unaltered clone, so he doesn't have any of the...
But still,
just
it's
let
just like
Boba
it just,
Fett
like-
be this mysterious badass bounty hunter guy.
Like you,
It's
like you
no
can
need
even
to
you can even
explain
have
that.
the character Jango Fett and just be like, oh, I wonder how they're related,
Yeah.
and maybe like leave that to any of the what is it now, Star Wars Legends or
Legends,
whatever,
yeah.
Legends stuff to explain it or whatever. And but it's like you don't need to go on and be like, you have to go fucking explain everything.
Yeah. That's the
I can agree, but at least Django made up for the lack of Boba Fett.
No, Jango Fett's a cool character.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jango Fett tried to make up for the lack of Boba Fett.
It was so just slow. This is the only movie that I literally could not sit there and just watch. Like, I just started doing other shit. I'm like, I can't stand this shit. People talk about the part where Anakin just, like, slaughters that village of people.
Of Tusken Raiders?
Yeah, and like, oh, that was cool, man. It's like, I thought that part was so poorly done and just awful. And then the way he comes back and just whines to Padme, it's like,
Yeah,
God, it's just
I'm a little
bad.
bit. I'm a little bit liable to disagree because I think the idea of that, the idea of that scene is really cool.
Yeah.
It's what kills it is the whining at the end.
yeah, the idea is fine. The way it was done,
Like,
and then the,
this
the
is the first
afterwards
step.
is
This is
just
his
awful.
first steps, really, to becoming Darth Vader. But then he goes and is just like a whiny little bitch about it.
Yeah.
And that's all these prequel movies really served to do, was take one of those badass characters from the original trilogy, the original Dark Knight and Darth Vader, and just made him a whiny little bitch.
I like the arena battle scene. That was pretty
Like,
cool.
yeah, that was really the only good part of the movie.
And then
Anything on Geonosis
Samuel L. Jackson shows up.
cuts Django's head off.
Gets a fucking purple lightsaber because he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Do you know what was inscribed on that?
Nope. Oh yeah.
BAMF
Bamf.
was actually inscribed on the prop. that
What if you
got
can?
taken
When you can
off.
never see it anywhere,
Yeah.
but. It's okay though. This movie taught me one of the best things you can ever learn about dating. If you want to pick up a girl, you just have to, fake your own death. Like when he gets trampled by that creature in the night.
Oh, yeah.
You want girls to hit on you? Just fake your own death. It's fine.
So why are you not trying that more, Keith?
Hey, it's just
Yeah. Anyways, number 6, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
I'd say this movie, as a whole, is just a step above Episode 2. Like, this movie is at least laughable in how
Yeah.
bad it is at times.
Wait, which one?
Phantom
Menace.
Menace. Darth Maul.
Okay. Place it episode 6.
Darth Maul, Jar Jar Binks.
Like,
I don't know.
it's number 6.
I said number 6.
It's the
Oh,
6th
oh.
one on the list.
Episode. Oh, okay, my bad. I got it.
And like
Pay attention.
there are two parts
I'm
of the
paying
movie
attention.
that are redeemable, in which they're both really cool. Which I actually kind of like the pod racing section. The pod
Yeah.
racing section is actually cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be there. It makes no sense in terms of story. Like, why does it have to be there? But I liked it. And then I still think that
Duel of Fates.
the Darth Maul fight's probably the best thing about
Duel of the
whole.
Fates saved that movie, in my opinion.
It's just that I feel like in some ways it's just because those two things are so much more redeemable than anything in episode 2, whereas like everything else in episode 1, in my opinion, is honestly just a little bit worse. Like, I mean, just because it's a little bit more family friendly, which is stupid. That's why Jar Jar exists.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Jar Jar is the prequel's Ewok, and it's just like it's so sometimes goofy, and it's just. But like I said, like it still has probably like like the pod racing and the fucking fight. That's like some of the only redeeming factors of the whole movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
I never really liked the pod racing. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
I never really cared for the pod racing. I honestly like episode 2 more than episode 1. I could maybe on any given day maybe put episode 2 and episode 3, make them interchangeable some days, but like I just really didn't like episode 1. It was definitely, to me, the worst. But it, like, the pod racing, like Keith said, was like whatever. It was just something there to have, that it was trying to show off more of the world, and I can appreciate that. But child Anakin was like annoying. Like I just didn't really care about child Anakin. Like that was the like inception of it all. That was the start. That was where it all began, and that's where it didn't get me on board with like I don't really like this character too much. And there were so many like weird flaws in the movie. Like, watch CinemaSins. I mean, they really tear this movie a new asshole. But, and then you were talking about the Darth Maul fight. I thought it was cool, but sort of in the same logic as when Anakin slaughtered the village and then came back and whined about it. The whining quality kind of was like, it overshadowed a lot of what just happened. To me, Darth Maul dying kind of overshadowed a lot of what just happened. Like, that was cool, but in the end, it didn't even matter. You know what I mean? But
They tried so hard.
I mean,
like, I don't know. I didn't care for child Anakin, and the movie just got off to a really slow pace and really did not do a great job of...
Starts off with the trade negotiations.
It didn't do a great job of just, like, starting me up for, like, the prequels, and I was like... Because this I think was the first Star Wars movie that I watched at an age where I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on. And that's why for the longest time I just didn't give a crap about Star Wars. I watched this one, I watched episode 2, and when episode 3 came out, I was like, whatever, I don't see the big deal about these movies. I never really got around to the originals. And this put me in such like a weird place with this franchise, just from the first movie, that I was like, should I care about this? Everyone in the world seems to love Star Wars. Should I care about this?
That really kind of was your mistake. And I'm not blaming you entirely, but like you really should watch 4, 5, and 6 first, just because they are the superior movies.
I was sort of at that age where episode 1 came out, and I was like, okay, I'll go see this. I had no previous
never
knowledge
seen Star
about
Wars, and that was
just, I guess, the time I was born. I was a 90s kid.
Well, I mean, I was a 90s kid, too.
You know you're a 90s kid.
If you remember when episode 1 came out.
I do remember when episode 1 came out. Shit.
I don't.
But,
shit.
Technically, Darth Maul didn't die.
Well, he did.
No, actually, it is now canon because it's in that Clone Wars series.
As a child, he died
canon.
to me. I didn't know anything else. How could I know better? Fucker just up and left.
I mean,
went out for some cigarettes. Never came back. Fucker. Whatever, I don't care. He died in here.
This is the first Star Wars movie I saw too. So I watched prequels. For the longest time, I didn't see all the original movies.
Shame.
And shame.
You
shame.
You realized your mistake.
Confess.
This movie's just boring.
Yeah.
Just straight up. It's just, as a movie, it is boring for the majority of it. The part that always gets me is when they go underwater or down below.
Oh, yeah, through the core.
Place?
Wadaganga?
Yeah,
Gungan.
the Gungan people, like, it's just so bad. It looks bad, and
And it doesn't
it gets
happen.
me. It just, yeah, little Anakin. I was like, whatever.
Oh, we forgot in 2 about how Anakin complaining about sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough. That's harsh.
The whole like minute about midichlorians is just fucking stupid.
Because it's never brought up again.
Yeah, it's just so dumb. I don't even know why it's there. Darth Maul, fucking amazing character to me.
Yeah.
Just once again very underutilized, and the fact that they, killed him in the first movie is like, what the fuck are you doing? He could have been fucking awesome.
He could have been
throughout
the
all
bad
3
guy.
movies.
He could have been like
Yeah.
more badass than Darth Vader.
Yeah, and it's just a whatever movie. I thought Liam Neeson was good in it for what he could do. You can't really act in front of just a green screen the whole time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was fine, but I mean, it's just boring. And Jar Jar Binks is just awful. That whole Naboo fight was
Snorefest.
Yeah.
It
Dude,
was
now
kinda
this
whatever.
is pod racing.
Yeah, I mean, the pod racing was fine. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. Definitely the highlight is the fight against Darth Maul, for sure. And it kind of, I don't know. Well, no, never mind. Whatever.
The thing about, like, kind of to combine what you guys said, the thing about, like, the underwater world and, like, the creation of everything and establishing, there are different races of people in different worlds. Kind of like I think it was you said it, that the movie was a little too goofy. That it didn't inspire this sense of, like, oh, that's really cool in the way that Disney could do it. To introduce you to a world, it was like, this is like, okay, that's there.
And then
It's not like, oh wow, look at this. It was just like,
here's a
that's
bunch of
there.
underwater fish people, and they talk funny.
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah. Like, it didn't really have this reveal of, like,
Yeah.
it was a little too goofy in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very much along the same way. Looking back, I don't think this is the worst of the prequels. It had its saving graces, like the Duel of the Fates at the end of the movie with,
Hey Arnold.
yeah, Liam Neeson did a very good job acting in front of a green screen. He definitely, as someone who has read the Legends books, a lot of them, he did kind of actually embody the personality of Qui-Gon.
Jizz.
Yeah. You know what the really fucked up thing was? They got like a kid that was actually close to the character's age to play Anakin. But Natalie Portman was way too old to be Padme.
Mm-hmm.
The character of Padme in the universe is
like-
14
She's like
years
14,
old.
and she's like,
She's a democratically elected figurehead. Yes, she is considered the queen of the Naboo, but she is democratically elected. She has no legitimate power whatsoever.
Yeah.
And she is 14 years old. Which means, I don't know, how long after do you think Attack of the Clones took place?
I think it's 10 years. I think it's 10 years.
Is it 10
I'm
years?
pretty sure it's right around 10 years.
Okay. So, alright, so that makes it a little less awkward.
Yeah.
But, with pod racing, I thought the pod racing was cool. It inspired an offshoot game, which was actually kind of fun. And it brought some excitement to the middle of an extremely drawn out and boring movie.
That's true. I mean, it is such a snooze fest up until then. And it's like, okay, there's something happening.
Yeah, it was some, and I feel like the producers told George Lucas,
Something has to happen.
something needs to happen here. Oh, you've got the pod race here? Alright, you are not allowed to cut this out because you need something to fucking happen.
And then he didn't listen to them with Attack of the Clones, and it just kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jar Jar,
No.
George Lucas's, I think, most egregious sin ever is Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. In the next movie we'll talk about
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
The next best movie, kind of unsurprising, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the final prequel movie. And you know what? If you're not with me, you're
Then
my
you're my
enemy.
enemy. You know, I was so excited for this movie when it was coming out.
You underestimate my power.
Well, hold on. Let's say what we like about the movie before.
I love how dark it is.
It is
I
definitely
just-
one of the darkest.
I love how it just totally has a different tone for a Star Wars movie, and I thought it was, pretty well done. I thought, in terms of CG too, this was probably the best looking movie.
Yeah.
For sure. I thought the fight scenes in this movie were pretty well done. Like I'm on the. It's way more over the top than it should be, but I like the Anakin Obi-Wan fight.
Dude, that is probably my
Very well
favorite
done.
fight out of all 7 movies
Yeah.
that have come out so far.
Yeah.
And they really were doing all of that shit
Yeah, and I
at
thought
that speed.
I thought the part with General Grievous and,
Could have been better.
Obi-Wan, it could have been better, but it
But
wasn't
it was alright.
bad. This is the one movie, the prequel movies, where I would honestly maybe put it on and watch it. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was that bad. It's not, as a sci-fi movie, it's not awful. Is it the best thing in the world? Absolutely not. But it's not awful, like I would say one and
The
two.
dialogue is slightly, and I'm gonna ever so slightly less cringeworthy.
Yeah, in an older, just way just kind of gone Hayden Christensen as Anakin, while still bad at times, definitely better than a fucking angry fucking teenager. You know what I mean?
I think they did the scope that they were trying to get with all the prequels a lot better, especially with like that opening fight. You just kind of get an idea for that scope.
Yeah.
Like the scope, you never really get a sense of. It's always kind of just going from you're going from planet to planet, and it just always felt that you're just going planet to planet. It almost seemed like a disconnection of events in the first two. And that's something
Yeah.
that they did in general. I really wholeheartedly agree they did better. Is that it's just they took everything that people were like, or they took the stuff that people were complaining about in episodes 1 and 2, and they're like, okay, well here, we'll fix what we can, but I mean, we're going to stay true to what we're doing. And they did a lot of good stuff. Like, even though it is a little too over the top for me, that fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin is really good. That fight between Obi-Wan and General Grievous, I mean, yes, General Grievous is like a completely CGI character,
Yeah.
and it could have been done better, but it was good for what it was worth. And I think some of the things that they did to kind of help bridge how we get to kind of almost get to episode 4, I think work. But I'll talk more about that when we get to talking, when we get to trash talking.
I mean, I definitely agree. I like the darker tone that the movie takes, and it takes that dark tone pretty much right from the very beginning of the movie, because a lot of the scenes are, at least the scenes involving Anakin, at least, are very like kind of dimly lit. You know, it opens up on the night side of Coruscant. You see the city is basically on fire in parts. There's this huge space battle going on. It feels kind of almost hopeless for the Republic at that point. And it kind of, hints at, things to come. Even though if you've seen the original trilogy, you know what's going to happen. Now you're actually going to see the fall of the Chosen One and his, becoming Darth Vader.
I really like the lightsaber fight between Dooku and Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
It's better than the first one. It's better
It's
than
better
the first
than
one.
the first time they do it.
I like the first one, but I guess that's just me. I thought that was really cool.
It is good. Yeah.
It kind of sucked that I understood why Count Dooku was, killed and all that, but kind of sucks because it felt like there was this really cool character that just ended. But I really liked the lightsaber fight. I thought General Grievous had a lot of potential. That's the best.
They really
thing.
didn't go
That's the
into
most
who
positive
Grievous
thing.
was as a character, though, all that much.
Yeah, like
The books and the miniseries kind of did more with that.
Yeah. I guess the most positive thing I could say is that he had a lot of potential. He seemed like a really cool character, but I'll get into that when we talk shit. I thought Ewan McGregor was good throughout this whole series and was the
Yeah.
shining light.
He was one of the few really good actors throughout the whole prequel
Yeah.
trilogy.
Yeah. This was definitely his best performance too. I
Yeah.
thought.
I love the kind of the look, like episode 2 really kind of didn't look at it all that much, but the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin in this movie, it seems more like they're brothers almost.
More organic.
Yeah, it seems more organic. It doesn't seem forced. Whereas in episode 2, sure, Anakin may have been Obi-Wan's apprentice for, I guess, like 10 years now, but it's still, the relationship still seemed very forced, I guess. It still seemed like they were trying to figure out their roles, like, as master and apprentice. Whereas in Revenge of the Sith, you're right, it felt more organic. It didn't really feel like the master-apprentice relationship anymore. It seemed more like they've been through so much, they're more like brothers or comrades or something like that.
One could say that, I don't know, they did something in between the movies that was awesome that we'll never get to see.
Well, and then
they
there was,
bonded.
like I said, the legend, like the expanded universe did kind of fill in more between episodes 2 and 3, and also between 1 and 2.
Well, I ain't got time to read that shit.
The books
I
aren't
need
really
my
that long.
movies. I need my movies, man. I'm stupid.
No
It's
arguments
not
there.
on the movie screen. I don't know what the fuck happened, bro.
Alright, we moving on to the
Let's
fun part.
talk shit now before we get shot.
Okay, worst scene in all of Star Wars is that whole fucking thing with where Mace Windu dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fucking
It's the
lose.
worst thing they've ever done.
No, it's close. The only
It's
thing,
hands down.
the only thing
worst,
after that could
man.
be, I hate you.
I mean,
This was so
that's just bad acting. Everything about that scene is just bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you could have had amazing actors. Like, you could have had somebody who can actually act, who have replaced Samuel L. Jackson, and it wouldn't have saved that scene.
Well, yeah.
No, you don't.
No.
I mean, the fact that General Grievous is neutered is terrible. Like, he's such a cool character in the miniseries,
Yeah.
and then he's just like every other villain and most of every other character in the fucking prequels. He's a walking plot device.
Yeah.
He exists to further the plot. And it's also one of the things that has actually lowered my opinion of this movie, probably even almost since we made this list, was I showed you the video. I watched that video of how this guy explains how Episode 3 could have been awesome. And he talks about how Order 66 is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is fucking stupid. And, like, it's just... to me, in a lot of ways, the problems with this movie are even a little bit more glaring than in 1 and 2, just because this movie's actually not half bad. But then it gets brought down by these bad scenes and bad writing and things like that. Whereas the other two, fine,
Yeah,
there's bad
doesn't
stuff that
that
happens,
be-
but the whole movie's bad. But this one's like,
Doesn't that kind of make the movie bad then?
Well, no, I mean,
There's
the
like
movie...
a lot of major scenes in the movie where important things happen are done terribly.
I'm not saying a lot of stuff's done terrible. I'm saying it's just a couple things that are done. Because
But
it's
there are major
generally...
things in the movie.
Yeah. And
I
then,
mean, just to
yeah.
say.
But then the only other thing that I don't like is how... And I said they do it good sometimes in this movie, is how they try to connect things to Episode 4. But just how the fact that they try to, like, connect everything. Like, oh, there's the
that's
Death
what I was
Star
gonna
at
say.
the end.
Yeah.
You get to show Anakin actually becoming Darth Vader, which
No.
is stupid.
You already knew.
Which is
Yeah, that
stupid.
scene was unnecessary.
Which is stupid. You know, you find out that there actually is, because again, it's my whole problem with the numbering system of the series. There's actually 2 kids, and they're twins, and their names are Luke and Leia. And then you go and you watch 1, 2, 3, and then you read 4, and it's like, and then it's just, you know what I mean? It's stupid.
And you know what?
That's more of my problem. with the whole
Let's
prequel.
hide. And I just read this the other day. Let's hide one of the kids on his home planet and not change his last name.
Yep.
You would think,
it's dumb.
unless something happened and Anakin / Darth Vader completely forgot Tatooine fucking exists, oh hey, let's hide one of Vader's kids on Tatooine
Never
and not
thought
change the
about
last
that.
name.
But yeah, that's pretty fucking dumb. That's my biggest problem with this movie too. Is it just goes too far. When it just didn't need to.
Like, if you wanted to
You
keep the
just-
numbering system the way it is, you can just have it be like Anakin, you think he dies off screen, and you don't know anything else, and then boom, and then it's still a surprise in Episode 5 when you find out that, oh my
And
god.
you know what? That is an excellent point. Because I was just thinking right now, you don't need the scene where he's speaking as Vader.
No.
All you need to do is show them like working on him.
I don't even think you need to see that.
No.
I don't
No,
think
you don't
see
even
that.
need to see the suit. Just see them working on his body.
It's just like,
on
oh,
that
something's
episode.
happening to Anakin, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you don't even have to
You
show
don't
him
even need to
necessarily
show the
going
suits.
full on evil.
But
Fucking
the only thing
Pokemon
there-
evolution.
What?
Something's happening to Anakin. Dun, 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 dun.
And you know what?
God damn.
Anakin Skywalker evolved into Darth Vader.
That's amazing.
The only reason
Level
they had
32.
that scene, really, was because Hayden Christensen wanted to wear the suit. Which, I don't blame him, because
I mean, yeah,
I
but
would
still,
wear the
it's
suit
like,
if I got the opportunity too. But
put it in a goddamn deleted scene that people that you know
Yeah.
people aren't going to just see, that you have to look for to find. You know
Or
what I mean?
just delete the scene in general.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
Like-
don't. Sorry, Hayden. We didn't put that in the
like you
movie.
need to delete your life.
Yeah.
I hate the scene where Hayden Christensen just starts like crying.
Yeah.
You know, like that seems so bad.
Or
oh my god.
on on Mustafar after he's like gets basically like quadruple amputated almost. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
Yeah.
I hate you.
When Obi-Wan lands on Mustafar and then they're, Anakin and him are having spitting some words back and forth, like just cringe line after cringe line.
Even Ewan McGregor
So
couldn't
bad.
save that scene.
No,
If you're not with me, you're my enemy.
then I have no choice.
And you know what?
You underestimate my power.
The actor that played Emperor Palpatine in the original movies,
Was a woman.
it's
What?
the same actor.
Oh, I just.
The guy that plays Palpatine in the prequels
Mhm.
is the same one from the original trilogy.
I thought in Episode 5 was a woman or something. I thought in one of them, I thought a woman played Palpatine for a little bit. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. But
That would be the first I've heard.
that was another thing that's stupid. Yoda versus Palpatine, stupid. Whole thing.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
First off, CG Yoda was stupid, but that's just because I prefer puppet Yoda. But
Yeah.
Well, they're
Puppet
gonna get
Yoda's
like a
awesome.
small person to do that? Can't do that.
I very much think
Little person.
Yoda should have been CG. He looks like fucking shit in the original trilogy. I don't care if it's made in the 80s or not. He looks like fucking trash, and I would hate to see that in 2005.
900 years old you get, how well you look.
yeah,
I would just
when
rather him
900
be
years old
CG.
you are, how good will you look?
He's just better CG to me. What do
That's
you
your
not
opinion.
like about
I
that?
agree. That's your opinion.
I don't like how... I thought that the whole thing between Obi-Wan and General Grievous was just bad. Like, I didn't think it was like, oh, it was okay. I just thought it was bad. It was a total waste of a character to put this General... he looks cool, right? He looks awesome. He kind of has
He's got
this,
4
like,
arms.
this skeleton thing going on, this skeleton robot sort of thing, has 4 arms, and his lightsabers
He
are
was
from...
basically Darth Vader before Darth Vader.
Lightsabers were from like Jedi that he has killed,
Mhm.
and that's awesome. And then he just gets like, man, he's sick. Fuck him.
No,
It's
he's
like-
he's basically the suit is keeping him alive.
Yeah. But then again, again, we're bringing up the thing of how he's a better character in the miniseries. Like at the end of the miniseries, he gets like his chest crushed,
Yeah.
and that's why he's wheezing all the time. Like he was actually like a cool, like really tough character who took out like 6 Jedi all by himself. No
Well,
help.
that doesn't
He was
make
trained
any,
by Dooku.
that
He was
doesn't make
basically
any
Dooku's
sense to
appren-
put
one of
that in the
Dooku's
movie
apprentices.
then. Or why not just keep him the cool badass guy and have it be like I don't know. It was just a waste of a character. Because then that stuff comes later on. It's like, oh well, this explains why he
Actually,
was
I think the Clone Wars miniseries came out before. Eventually.
It
The
did?
5-minute episode ones did. Yes.
Yeah, the 5-minute episode one came out.
That's just fucking dumb writing then. Like, just let him be a badass. Like, let him actually fight Obi-Wan and have, like, a chance, because he has 4 fucking lightsabers, and said, like, oh, let's get in a fucking tire and drive down the side of a mountain, and then I'll kill you down there. It's fucking stupid. Like, it's just a waste of my time watching this movie. I felt not invested at all because I'm like, he's just gonna get killed, isn't he? He's this awesome character that you just finally introduced, and it's like, fuck him.
I do. Like
it's a total waste of a fucking character.
Walking plot device.
I do like the cheeky line at the end of that fight.
So
uncivilized.
Obi-Wan liner.
Wow.
Like, another thing that... What else didn't I like? I didn't really care about, like, any of the Padme storyline stuff, because, like,
Nope.
it should have been something where it's, like, more emotional, because that was, like... That's what a lot of what surrounded her in the movie, was seeing Anakin become this, you know, dark side dude, and I just didn't feel any of that. Like, there wasn't any feeling. It was all flat. Anakin,
You know what, even in the times where they tried to have emotion between the two, it felt very flat.
yeah.
It
That's
seemed
what I
like
just said.
Well, I mean, like, even like episode 2 was very over the top with it,
Yeah.
and then this, I guess maybe episode 3 tried to rein it back, but they pulled it back a little bit too far
Yeah.
because you didn't care
Like,
really.
And kind of like I said before, like, all this stuff happened between episode 2 and then 3, and they're like, hey, we're best buds now, and, like, I know, like, to give CinemaSins credit, they said something along the lines of, in their video of this movie, like, oh, all this, something cooler that we would have rather seen than this crap. Like, they always throw back to these references, like, oh, remember that time we did this? That would be more fun to watch than
Like
what's going on
The
in this
Kato
movie.
Nemoidia reference is actually
Like-
in the book that happens before episode 3.
Like, they just, like, waste people's time with all this stuff. Like, I would rather see that, and then the end was bad. That's all I'll say about that. And then, I thought the worst scene in the movie was the whole high ground thing. That made no
Oh.
fucking sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anakin, the most powerful midichlorian motherfucker up in Mufasa, or whatever planet it was, and he gets killed by, like, you can't jump high enough.
He
It's like-
gets his legs cut off.
Like, I don't...
He didn't even have to do that. He could just kind of stepped off.
I know, he could have used his force and, like, pushed him back
Yeah.
and then just, like, whoop, jump over like it's a fucking puddle. Because he's the most powerful fucking dude, apparently. He's fucking Jesus 2.0. Jesus reborn.
Yeah.
Fucking Passion of the Christ, dude.
God damn it.
Wow.
Like,
All right.
I don't know. He just lost in such a stupid way. Like, just that. Not the dialogue before that. Not the dialogue after that when he's like, ah. And they should have got Jeff Goldblum. But, like, just the flip made no sense. Worst scene in the fucking movie. Like, oh, how can we kill him? Instead of giving him, like, this huge fucking, like, oh, he's, like, being struck down or something. It's like, I'm just gonna flip and get cut out of midair. Fucking... It's like... It's like Smash Bros. Or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm King Dedede over there. I just hit you with a fucking hammer and
Yeah.
just... That's that. Should like King Dedede. Just Anakin jumps over and King Dedede, bam! You're dead. Well, not dead, but, you know.
Next up, let's talk about good movies. Should probably try to speed this up a little bit.
Okay.
But, next up, Star Wars Episode 4: New Hope.
This is the baseline.
First
Also
Yeah.
known as Star Wars.
That's true.
That's just Star Wars.
Yeah.
And this is the baseline. Like, this is like well, I'd say baseline for just movies in general. Because, I mean, it's a great debut
Yeah.
for, like, a first movie. Like, here's this really... When you look at Star Wars, A New Hope by
Star Wars
itself,
was a new, almost totally new idea that George Lucas totally didn't rip off Flash Gordon.
it's just this really big, expansive universe. And it's like... back in the 70s, that's probably like a daunting thing. That's like, here, we're going to introduce a whole nother, like, galaxy or universe, or how the heck you want to look at it. It's just like, oh.
Did any of you guys
Okay.
watch that 70s show?
I watched a little bit of it, but
The episode where they showed the Star Wars premiere,
I don't
then
remember.
when they went to see the premiere of episode 4,
I don't remember that one.
basically all their minds are getting blown, and my dad's like, yeah, that's pretty much what it was like.
So.
It's not there. He was getting blown.
Ooh.
It was the 70s. That show lied. It didn't really take place in the 70s.
God damn it. So I think the characters are all intriguing and they're nice, and even if they are archetypical characters, like every single
What
character,
was that?
archetypical.
Okay.
Like, Carl Jung.
Yeah, all that stuff. You know, all of them are just basically fulfilling the stereotypical roles that like you expect to find in movies, but they're done so well, and it just creates, I think, just again probably the baseline for like this is like how you start a franchise and how you make a new thing good. So
this movie ripped off Episode 7. Every fucking thing they did. The Death Star was a rip off of Episode 7. Fucking Heroes, rip off of Episode 7. Hans Solo, rip off.
No S.
Hans got a fucking Hans.
You do this every time, too.
Hans,
he's gonna keep
what's his
doing it
name?
too. That's funny part.
And then they got a fucking Lupus guy.
It's never Lupus.
Lupus.
Fucking rip off movie, dude. 0 out of 5. No, I don't fucking remember what happens in this movie. Honestly, this is my least favorite Star Wars movie. If the prequels are actually like movies.
Really? Because that's not what your list here has.
Huh?
That's not what your list was. The only thing
What's
you
that?
had better was Episode 3.
Oh yeah, Episode 3. Probably just because of like a few fucking things. Honestly, yeah. If they were fucking movie, honestly, this is still my least favorite Star Wars movie. I mean, I know it's probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but I just don't fucking remember what happens in this movie. They blow up the Death Star. Obi-Wan dies. Like the lightsabers look fucking like they're from 1970s because they are from 1970s. Like I don't know. It's just maybe I'm privileged to grow up in an age with movies that actually have like special effects and stuff. And I can still go back to the first Alien, and I think it's one of the best movies ever made. But this movie, it's just like it takes a great deal of putting myself out there to be like. The thing is, I started watching the prequels. I didn't watch this Star Wars movie. This was the first one of the original trilogy that I watched. It wasn't till like well into my life, so I had seen a number of movies, a number of very good, well-made, amazing movies, and I think that was what got in the way of going back to watching a movie from the 70s that growing up in the 90s and 2000s and seeing crappy CG, but still like some amazing movies and stuff. Saving Private Ryan, a lot of movies that just had better, just looked better and were better made. Going back, this is still pretty cheesy, but I can see why people like it because it speaks to them and it was maybe the first one that they watched. But going back into something, it's like, yeah, I guess I can see it. I mean, it's not terrible, but I just don't really. It never spoke to me. I guess that's the thing. It speaks to a lot of people. It didn't really speak to me. Fucking Leia. There's a lot of quotable lines from this movie. I just like the 5th and the 6th one better.
I'm kind of in between you two and you. I think this movie's very boring.
Literally.
Yeah. I think this movie's very boring for a long time. Kind of until they really leave Tatooine. You know?
Oh,
when things actually
I agree.
start get going, it's just a snooze fest for a while. I would say prequel level snooze fest to me. The acting and the line delivery is way better, but it's just, I don't know. It's very slow in the beginning. I'm sure for 1977, this movie's just fucking blows my mind. And one thing that just gets me about the original trilogy is people are like, it's this expansive universe, so much lore to it. And I watched these movies just last year, really, for like the first time where I'm like actually sitting down, watching them, and paying attention to them. I'm like, really? Like, these are the most straightforward fucking movies out there to me. You know, especially this one. I mean, there's not a whole lot of extra to it, but I mean, it's fine. I wouldn't watch it too many times personally.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is my kind of like he said. This is kind of like my baseline for Star Wars movies. You know, this movie kind of separates the I don't want to say the men from the boys, but the actual good movies from the just kind of just garbage.
it's I don't know, we have it in a good spot.
Like it's
literally right in the middle.
It's literally right in the middle, and it's
You know?
yeah, I agree. Until they get off Tatooine, it's very slow. It's a slow build, and once it gets going, it goes. But I can see why some people are like, oh, it just takes too long to get moving. It takes too long for the plot to really advance. And sometimes even the cheesy, effects. But, those of us that saw it when we were, like, little kids, I saw these movies for the first time when I was, like, 5 years old. I loved it for the cheesiness and the things like that, and some of the corny dialogue, which was not written by George Lucas. But, yeah, there were better movies than this. So,
Specifically, 3 of them.
Specifically 3 of them. Yeah. But, this is kind of like the polarizing, I think, movie.
You can either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, between 3 and 4, I think this is the polarizing movie.
Yeah.
That you either love it or you hate it, or you're just kind of mad about it.
I think maybe the biggest character in Star Wars Darth Vader, maybe the biggest character, didn't take off until the second and third one.
Yeah,
I feel like
I
he
definitely
took off
agree.
in this
Vader really isn't on screen for a whole
Yeah.
lot of this movie. And it kind of really, until I think it was you that pointed it out, maybe, a little while ago. It was recently pointed out to me that Vader really isn't in the movie a whole lot, and I was watching it again with my girlfriend because she wanted me to show her these movies, and I was like,
Yeah.
you're right, like, Vader really isn't directly involved in Episode 4 all that much. He's in the first scene.
He's walking. You see him walking around.
You
the
see him
Death Star a lot.
walking. You see him walking through the Death Star a couple times, in that one meeting room, and then in his TIE fighter at the end of the movie.
And then in the fight with Obi-Wan. That's like it. That's his whole purpose in the movie. It's like kind of 5 or 6 scenes.
Yeah,
Which those scenes to me are some of the better ones.
And
Because
they're
and that's what
significant.
makes 5 and 6 better to me, which we'll get to, is that, those movies are just way better when he's on screen. It just makes
And
it that much more exciting.
there's just something about it, like
Yeah.
this just
Something
imposing
about his
figure
character.
in
Yeah.
like just entirely black armor, the cloak,
Yeah.
the red lightsaber.
And-
There was something just, I don't want to say terrifying, because I really wasn't afraid of Darth Vader as a kid, but you just get this feeling of
Yeah.
dread.
And at least if you didn't watch the prequels before you watched the original trilogy, and of course you start with 4, you're just kind of like,
Who
and
is
you're
this
watching, like, who is this guy?
Like
and why is he doing this?
I think
You know,
I think that's the thing that weakens for is because 5 and 6 prove that, hey, you can have a lot of Vader and it's still really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if 5 and 6 probably had about as much Vader in it as 4, I think Vader would still be a great character. He'd be a lot
Yeah.
more dark and mysterious. Is that
Mhm.
they kind of used his character, a lot
Differently.
more.
Yeah.
So
Anyways, moving on. Next best movie, Star Wars Episode 6,
Return
Return
of
of the Jedi. Final in the original trilogy.
We thought it was the end of the storyline for many years too.
Yeah.
this movie, this honestly, a very the jump between how good 4 is and how good 6 is like in my mind staggering.
Yeah.
In 2, in looks.
And it looks.
I think 6 looks very good.
It's fucking staggering. But, and I'm just going to put this out there right now because it's really the only major negative that I have to notice, is that probably the thing that stops this movie from honestly being the best is, despite how cute they are and the stuff is some of the fucking Ewoks.
Yeah.
You're gonna throw rocks at stormtroopers who got this armor on, which, yes, their armor isn't worth crap because it's supposed to, protect them from laser fire, and
Yeah.
it doesn't do
Not
that.
physical impact.
But, and then they throw rocks at him and you can kill him, or you can crush an AT-ST with 2 logs coming up. I'm just like...
And yet, it
Alright.
takes multiple blasts from a starfighter to do any damage to them.
And I'm just like... It kind of takes me out of it a little bit,
Yeah.
but then,
Ewoks or Jar Jar?
Ewoks.
Oh, give me Ewoks any day over the Gungans.
But, it's a very satisfying movie from, everything from, it's built up to 4 and 5.
Yeah.
It's just very satisfying with how it ends, and it, kind of comes full circle in a lot of ways with, Darth Vader ended up saving Luke at the
And
end.
there's a lot of symbolism, really, in this movie. Like, look at Luke's costume. All black. Well, he knows, about his family history now. He knows his heritage. So he knows that, he's got this this darkness inside him that he could potentially succumb to, and in the expanded universe he does a couple times. And the all black costume with that little bit of white at the end of the movie kind of shows him embracing that fact. Like, yeah, this is part of who I am, but that's not what I'm going to do with it.
About the only other thing that I'd say that I had to put down on this movie is just that they kind of ended the thing with the Death Star basically the same way as in the first. That's kind of bad, but then like everything else is cool. Like, I mean, Endor is a fucking great bit of scenery. Jar Jar's palace is one of my personal, like the whole thing with Jar Jar's palace and like on the ship.
Jar Jar's palace?
No, I mean not Jar Jar. Fuck. Why am I Jabba? Why am I blanking? Sorry, I'm dumb. Jabba's palace and like the flying ship and whatnot. Like that's one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars. Like that whole sequence from like the very beginning of the movie. Well, maybe not the very beginning because it kind of starts off a little slow. But from like kind of like when like Leia shows up to like the end of that sequence is like one of my favorite things they've done in like Star Wars ever. And then yeah, like you said, the symbolism's really cool, and probably in all maybe like in terms of fight, probably my third favorite fight, simply behind Darth Maul. The fight with Darth Maul is second too, is the Luke versus Darth Vader in this one, simply because there's so much tension. I mean, it's not flashy. But none of the fights.
No, none of the fights in these prequels in the original trilogy are flashy, but there's a sense of emotion and depth and intensity to them.
That's what makes it fucking great. So, yeah.
I love this movie. My favorite scenes in this movie is Vader trying to convince Luke to come to the dark side.
Yeah.
They were so well done, and there's really just well written. I'm watching that, and I'm just like, fuck, this is so good, I kind of agree about Death Star. I mean, that just kind of sucks. Would have been cooler if, they didn't blow it up, or they did it in a different way, or I don't know.
Well, they did kind of technically do it in a different way.
But I mean, like, I don't know, figure something else out. Like,
yeah.
Instead of flying a ship and shooting lasers at the core, I don't know. I don't know what a better example would be.
I was gonna say, how else are you gonna blow up a moon-sized weapon?
I don't know. Build a bigger one. Blow it up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Rebels built a bigger one and just blow it up.
It's a good movie. I'm not going to say too much else because I agree with like everything you said.
Yeah.
But it's solid.
Yeah, I mean, the plot of this movie is essentially let's rescue Hans, and then little Hansi, and then they're building another. Well, then Luke finds out some more stuff about his family. Not you, Luke Skywalker.
I know.
Luke Skywalker finds out
I'm sure there's members of my family I've never even met. So
Luke Skywalker finds out some stuff about his family, learns that another Death Star is being built, and then goes to stop it and stops it. It's like a very simple plot, but I kind of like the simplicity in it. There's not like, oh, well, you're finding out this and that and everything else that you're going to have to remember later on in the movie, and this is connected. It's just a good way. It's a nice way to wrap things up. It's very simple. It's very much its own movie in a lot of ways. I thought like some action things were cool, like the fight with Darth Vader, and then the Rancor and stuff. I never really cared about Boba Fett that much because just in terms of the movies, he didn't really do too much in the movies. He was just kind of there. It seems like another character in Star Wars that would have had an awesome backstory that just wasn't in the movies, that they didn't really use that much, that he could have been used more.
But hey, that upcoming Boba Fett movie.
And actually, he technically he survives the Sarlacc pit.
The fuck is with them and people surviving shit? Darth Maul surviving.
It's because it's like they're not gonna they're gonna bring back characters that people like.
What is this, Marvel? Yeah. No, I mean not Marvel. Oh wait, yeah, this is Marvel because they don't kill off characters. They kill off villains though. It's kind of like I don't know. Never mind. This isn't Marvel.
Well, I mean, shit, Biggs didn't come back.
Yeah.
But with the whole simple plot thing, I think that's kind of what made all three of these movies better. Was the plots were very simple. They weren't convoluted. They weren't trying to do 100 different things or 100 different individual subplots. It's not like Game of Thrones where you gotta who's this person again? Where am I? Where are we? Which I'm not knocking Game of Thrones at all. It's a fantastic show. But sometimes you just want that simple, basic plot. A to B to C to D, and that's where I think kind of the prequels went a little bit sideways. Was they tried to get all these different subplots going, and then they just never really finished them.
Just for the record, I thought the ending to Episode 6 sucked. Like, I thought the
Yeah.
Emperor could have been killed in a cooler way.
I'm
Vader
not
is
saying that they could. It's another one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a cool idea, cool. Vader saves him, but like, I
The way in
can
which
see.
it happened, where Vader picks him up and throws him off, and he dies. Like, I get Vader dying because that needs to happen, and Emperor Palpatine dying because that needs to happen, and Vader redeeming himself that needs to happen. But like the way in which they did it was, to me, in my opinion, dumb.
And also, adding in Hayden Christensen in the
That was
remaster.
stupid.
Best decision they ever made.
Worst decision ever.
Yeah. Second best Star Wars movie.
There's only two
Star
left.
Wars Episode 7.
And really, I thought these two really could have been interchangeable.
Yeah.
And that really was the debate of kind of putting these last two in order.
Star Wars Episode 7. The Force Awakens. The most recent Star Wars movie.
The one that broke every single box office record known to man.
Almost. All but them taking number one spot. But
And it will.
hey, $2 billion is nothing to be.
Yeah.
You know.
$2 billion is nothing to waggle your dick at.
Donald Trump.
Wait,
Waggle his dick at.
I'm looking at you, Liam Hemsworth.
I think I've said a couple times, so I'm not going to ramble too much on Episode 7. I've said a good bit. Like, this movie combines the kind of the feel of the original trilogy with the new technology that was started to get good towards the end of the prequels, and it does a new story in a way that it's not like...
It felt familiar.
It felt familiar, but it's also not hanging so tightly onto the... or even though there are a lot of references to Episode 4, which I know is probably...
there are plenty of them.
Plenty of them, but I mean, at least in terms of the general like things, it doesn't seem like... Whereas the prequels were like, hey, here's Obi-Wan. Remember him? He's a character. Remember him? Like, here's that. It's that guy.
Will
It's the
Smith.
Emperor. He's gonna become the Emperor.
Will Smith.
Yeah, stuff like that. There's Yoda. Like, here's all these things that are kind of throwbacks to the prequels. Which, yes, there's characters that have been around, but I mean, like, besides, Han, Chewie, and Leia. I mean, there's not really. I mean, and Luke Skywalker at the end.
Well, the guy that Poe gets the map from apparently is a character in the original trilogy. He's like an old Alliance general or something like that.
Oh, okay. But like it's very much, again, it's not. It wants to be its own thing in a way. Like, yes, but all the stuff where it's at, it's references to A New Hope, I feel, and I just think that this movie's just done really well. Like I said, this movie and it could be number 2 or number 1, at least in my book. So.
Oh, me. I think this is my favorite Star Wars movie because it allowed me to get into it where it's like the prequels and the original trilogy went through and laid out the groundwork for everything that happened and a lot of backstory and established a lot of things. So now this movie can go on and say a world has been created, sort of. That everything has been there. Now a lot of things have happened. It's going to be in the future, and now we can start doing stuff. Like it's sort of in a way, if someone's never played Mass Effect, they can jump into Mass Effect Andromeda and have it be like a new thing. But there is backstory. Shepard did exist. There were things that happened, but it's in a new place essentially.
I can see that.
But I like that I could jump in there. I thought the characters were mostly good. Like I really like Kylo Ren. I liked Rey. Poe might have a bigger part later on in the series.
I think that's kind of what they're doing with Episode 8.
I know they were doing rewrites with Episode 8 to make it more about Finn, Poe, and Rey.
Yeah, Finn was. I want to see more of Finn. I really like how everything went down in the movie. I liked all the characters. It felt modern enough that I don't know. I really liked a lot of what happened. And that's not to say that if a movie's old, I don't like it. It's just it felt like, okay, everything happened, now we're here. So, how do I want to say this? It's
Started at
almost
the bottom, now we here.
It's almost so that the prequels, kind of like I said, it set the groundwork, but it's something new. So all that exists, but it's not. The movie's not entirely dependent on that. It's its own story,
Yeah.
but there is everything else, and that makes this so much more special because the other world exists. You know what I mean? Like around you, but the movie itself, I thought, kept my attention. It was really awesome. Dude was sneezing in the theater. Not sneezing, snoring.
Snoring. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the one we went to Kendig to see it.
Yeah.
But I agree that this is the first Star Wars movie for anyone of my generation, really, or even like newer generations of fans, where you didn't know where the plot was going. Like with the prequels, you might not know the whole story. You might not know how Anakin becomes Darth Vader, but you know it's going to happen eventually. You know things are going to build up to that point. It's kind of inevitable because without that, you wouldn't have the original trilogy. But this was... I don't think I've been more excited for a movie in the 25, almost 26 years I've been alive. I don't think I've ever been excited for anything quite like I was for this. And yeah, it kind of kept, some of the ideas from the original trilogy and the prequels. But I feel like, and there are a lot of people were complaining that this is very similar to Episode 4 in terms of plot points, I guess.
Yeah, I established that Episode 4 totally ripped off this movie,
Yeah.
even though it came out.
But
earlier.
In defense of that, it felt new. It felt fresh.
40 years actually.
30.
40.
Well, it came out late 70s.
So
The movie. I thought you were talking about in terms of the movies.
No.
Um.
Not
But-
actual time, like
Yeah.
real lifetime.
Yeah. Shit, where was I going with this? I feel like it was paced better than Episode 4, though.
Yeah.
It was definitely much better paced. That's where I was going with that. It's just a good movie, and that bromance, that epic bromance between Finn and Poe, just
Yeah.
bro.
Bro.
I think the most exciting... I mean, I agree with all you guys. I think the most exciting part about this movie is that we're watching a fun Star Wars movie in 2016. You know? Like, it's fun and good like the original trilogy, but it looks like a movie from 2015.
It has
I should say.
a good
You know?
plot. It's got a good story.
Yeah, it looks modern. It's beautiful, and that's the best part about
And
it. to me.
and it's a sequel spiritually, and it's not a sequel. Like this now seems to be nothing but franchises with sequel after sequel after sequel, and yeah, this is kind of a sequel, but
Yeah.
it's new story. It's not like the Avengers taking something that's already been done in the comics and now just putting it on the big screen. It's not DC doing whatever the fuck it is they're doing now, because no one knows what the hell DC is doing.
DC doesn't know what DC.
Yeah, DC doesn't know what they're doing, but this...
I think they're making movies if they're still doing
They're doing
that.
something.
Yeah.
Or something? They
If
got
they're still going to be doing that.
They're making movies about Martha.
Yeah.
Martha Stewart.
But it's new story. It's somewhere we've never gone before. Even those of us that have read the expanding universe past, Return of the Jedi, this is new territory for us. So, yeah.
It's new because the expanded universe doesn't exist anymore.
Fuck you, Disney. And there was a lot of cool shit they could have done.
And also the best part about this movie to me are the new characters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Harrison Ford, Luke Skywalker. I mean, just staring or whatever he does, and
Hey,
Carrie
it's Hans,
Fisher.
not Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
How's Harrison Ford? Got Hans Ford.
You
Ray's
can-
holding out the... I want to know how Maz got the fucking lightsaber.
We'll find out. Gotta pay for 2 more
It's
movies.
a story for another time.
Yeah.
Just like Destiny.
Timothy Moss,
Yeah, exactly. But you
I
can
could
get those
tell
old
you.
farts out of here. Ray, Finn.
Well- They already got one of them out of there.
Kylo Ren. I mean, that they're the future of Star Wars, and that's why I think Episode 8 and 9 are going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, because we get to learn probably some backstory of what happened in the 30 years, and obviously we'll get to know more about Luke. Maybe he'll just stare the whole movie.
He's
But
gonna ask
we'll
where
get
the
to
hand
see
was.
these characters on screen because they're
was a hand
fucking
with it.
great.
There was a hand with it. Did you find the hand?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
and the best Star Wars movie.
I mean, there's only one left.
There's only
three
one left.
out of 4 of us had this as our number one.
No.
The Empire
Two of
Strikes.
us. 2 of 4 of us.
Nope.
Oh no, 3 out of 4.
That's all of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Oh,
The
well,
Empire Strikes Back. Surprisingly,
Nah, it's not surprising.
Yeah. It's really not surprising at all.
I love how this movie just kind of starts off with a bang, whereas 4 was like super slow. 5 was like boom, straight to the gut. Lots of action, on Hoth and everything. That was exciting. You get to see Vader right away. Vader's in this movie a lot. One of my favorite parts is when they go to Bespin. Bespin looks gorgeous. I just love everything that goes on there. It's just a fun movie to watch. It's just there's kind of nothing wrong with it. I thought it started and ended well.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's not tied to a fucking Death Star type
Yeah.
of thing that they got to take out. That's probably the best part about it. It's a solid movie for Star Wars.
And you know what? Unlike a lot of movies at the time and even now, technically, the bad guys win.
Yeah,
At
In
the
the
end
end
of
of the
it.
movie, technically the bad guys won.
yeah, and that's what was cool about it.
Like I kind of don't want to put it on because it's one of my other favorite moments from probably my second favorite moment from the original trilogy. But I don't put it like on my top lightsaber battles because it's not even necessarily the part of it that is it. The whole part kind of in the middle of the lightsaber fight between Luke and Darth Vader, where Darth Vader's just like using the Force and just kind of like
Throwing shit
throwing
at
shit. Everyone's like, that's fucking cool. Like that's
Yeah.
how you fucking do a fight. Which I forgot to mention. Probably, which I'll just throw this in there because I completely forgot. I'm dumb for derailing this really quickly. My favorite fight in all of Star Wars is Kylo Ren versus Rey. That's my favorite fight.
That one was.
That was
It's
good.
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So,
in terms
but-
of intensity, that fight was intense.
So,
That was awesome.
so okay, back on topic. Yeah, like it's just there's in the sense that what Tyler's saying, it's not tied to a Death Star, and it's just everything works. The characters, they're evolving. They're not necessarily the same people they were at the end of Episode 4. They're slightly different, and their storylines are kind of going into new places. I mean, after watching Episode 4, if you were to tell me that Han and Leia were to hook up, I would be like, you're dumb. You're dumb. And then it happens. I'm like, okay, cool, fine, whatever.
And-
so, stuff like that. It's cool.
And not only that, this movie has probably the biggest and best kept secret in.
That too.
Well, yeah.
Yes, it does.
It's got the best kept secret in the history of Hollywood, I would say. In even the actors didn't know what the actual lines were until the day they were shooting it.
Cool.
Like the whole "Luke, I am your father." Nobody knew that line until the day they were shooting. And I was watching a movie with Lauren recently. We were watching Pitch Perfect, and the one guy's like, she's talking about how she's never seen like some of these classic movies like The Breakfast Club or Star Wars, and talking about Episode 5, and he's like, really, you called the best kept you knew Vader was Luke's father, and he's like, really, you called the best kept secret in cinema history, you knew without watching the movie. And I was like, how is anyone going to call that? How does anyone top that moment?
Fucking
That-
hard.
Like, sure, Kylo Ren killing Han Solo can probably come close,
Put it out, you cunt.
I did.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry.
but
You got
I'll
your
fix it.
fucking chair putting pressure on my cord.
I'll fix
Gonna cut a circuit with your big
going
old
without me, man.
your
I
big
already
old
talked, so-
bungalow. Big old
Keep
ass.
going.
come on.
Big old bingalow dingalow all over my wingy. I don't know what I'm saying.
Dang dangling.
What'd you think of it?
Me?
Yeah.
What do I think of what?
Episode 5.
Yeah.
Your life.
It was the 5th episode. Well, for starters, it was the 5th episode. It was a Star Wars movie.
It was the second when you come out. Which, I mean, how does that make sense?
Honestly, I think my favorite part of the movie was when they show up to fucking Circuit City.
Cloud
And
City.
yeah, they got old Lando.
Oh God.
I'm like, I don't know. That part was really cool. I liked that part of the world, that something like that exists.
Mm-hmm.
That's just this floating fucking this thing up there, and that was cool. And just when Vader sets an ambush or sets a trap for them, and they walk into the room, and he's just like, boo, deflecting fucking laser bullets. And he's like, gotcha now, bitches. And like, that just kind of further proves that Boba Fett kind of didn't do shit, because Vader kind of trapped them and did everything, and Boba Fett didn't really do anything. And then in episode 6, he's just kind of like shooting like he's never shot before, and is missing Luke Skywalker like point blank, and he gets fucking knocked into a pit of no fucking return. But I don't know, that's my feeling about Boba Fett. But I like that setup. I like that place in the movie. I don't know. I think I liked a lot of things about this movie. It's just, wait, hold on. What was I gonna? I was looking up something because I want to know what I'm saying here.
I think this just had one of the best plots, really, out of the movies. I'm gonna catch this fucking fly.
Alright. Yeah, I would agree to that, because, like, it's, I mean, again, the plots of 4 and 6 and 7 are similar-esque. So this is like, oh, it's cool.
I mean, plus the stuff on Dagobah, like with the Dark Side tree, was, you know, it kind of foreshadowed the big reveal to come, but it kind of didn't let it out.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the most intense fights, really, I think, out of the original trilogy, was the fight between Luke and Vader on Bespin.
Yeah, I mean, it is intense. It's just that I like I said, I wouldn't put it necessarily on like my top list, just because like it doesn't look. It's not like
it's not flat, and I'll admit it's not flashy, but it's probably one of the more emotionally charged, intense duels.
And at that point, I would argue that 6 is more emotionally intense and charged, just because.
Well, yeah, because he knows at that point that that's his father. Yeah.
It's a little bit different. Whereas, like, he's just saving his friends. Now he's saving his friends, and he's also
trying to
got
save
all
his
this other
father.
stuff. And it's like, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Figure out what you can say, Hoss? If not, I can keep amping. It's
Yeah,
fine.
when they fucking
Keep vaping.
they show up with Jabba the Hutt, he gets like frozen and all that. I like that part too. That was pretty iconic. What was I gonna? The whole fucking Yoda bit. Like, I kind of agree with you. Yoda looks like shit. Like, not even like a really good quality puppet. It's just kind of like an quality puppet. And just personally, I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for this too. I don't really give a fuck about anything Yoda had to say. He was just sort of there. He's like, I'm old, in his fucking voice, and he's like, ambiguous wisdom I have, and all that. And it's like, yeah, I mean,
all right, I'll give you.
You know, Skywalker left anyway, so it's like, I don't give a fuck. Just repair my ship, lift it out of here. I'll be on my way. Just like, I don't know. He kind of. Yoda and Darth Vader have these roles that are so iconic, but when you go back to like I said, the first Star Wars movie, Darth Vader is just kind of nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And then the second movie, Yoda just wasn't really all he's cracked up to be. Like, he's cool, but like, I think it's a lot more in people's hearts that watch this movie that he becomes legendary and everything, that he becomes more than just a character. But like, I think the first time I watched this movie and I saw the character, I'm like, yeah,
Well,
that's Yoda.
It's kind of like Yoda and Darth Vader are
Like
two
Yoda.
sides of a coin. Because
Yeah.
Yoda's like the wisdom and, you know, the
The good guy.
yeah, the good guy, for lack of a better term. He's the
Yin to
tempered.
yang.
He's the wisdom that's been tempered by just experience and having and years and age.
Sexual experience.
Maybe. We don't even know what species Yoda is.
What does he do with
there was
that
another
fucking cane, man?
there was another one of him. There was another one of his species on the Jedi Council at one point.
Ah, man. Didn't work out. Fucking
And
big
Darth
guy.
Vader is kind of the more emotional,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just gonna do my own thing sort of side of the coin.
Darth Vader's kind of like the gangbanger,
Yeah.
and Yoda's kind of just like your typical librarian guy.
Sure. Why not? Let's go with that.
Sure. All right. Why not? Yeah.
That's it. That's
Star
7
Wars
movies.
Episode 8, the librarian and the gangbanger.
Even though they're both fucking dead, they're not gonna be around.
Well, no, like
Just the corpse of fucking Yoda's asshole. Would you rather eat out the corpse of
All right.
Yoda's asshole or the corpse of Darth Vader's asshole?
Before this really
That
degenerates.
credit for that all goes to Gilbert Gottfried for talking about that on Norman McDonald's podcast, talking about Hitler, the corpse of Hitler's asshole. I'm just ripping.
Before this really just goes somewhere we really don't want it to go. That's
Do
our
we?
list.
Dude, really?
That's reserved for the breakdown.
So that's our list.
Yeah.
Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Episode 7, Force Awakens. 6, Return of the Jedi. 4, A New Hope.
Fucking
3,
hell.
Revenge of the Sith. 1, Phantom Menace, and 2, Attack of the Clones. That's it.
Phantom of the Opera.
We can't wait for more Star Wars movies. We're gonna be dank. We're gonna smoke weed. We're gonna vape.
Vape Nation.
Vape nation.
Vape some weed. Vape a big pot of weed.